Alright everyone, and welcome to Room Speedcast. I know it's been a while, but we've got an exciting match just from right last night for you tonight. So, Siri's going to explain a little bit of why we've been gone, personal problems and such, but then we're going to get right into everything. So, Siri, introduce yourself as always, and let's get to it.
Good evening, everyone. I am Serial Thrax from Steel Jaguar Gaming, also Siri Waffle, depending on who I'm married to at the time. And yes, we apologize for the long delay. It was just a series of things, one after the other. First, Waffle had a lot of homework, then he lost his voice because he was sick. Then I started a new job, and I had absolutely no energy after I got back home and did practice with SJR. And then Waffle's girlfriend demanded attention before she went away for a while. So, in any case, here we are. We've got a match for you. But before we get into that, we do have a bit of a PSA. And that's just because we've noticed that, of course, we've kind of been casting our own matches, and that's not deliberate, like, so that we can show off, oh, look at our matches. It's because we need more people to get recordings, to get good recordings, to stream, to save them, and to let us know that they exist. Right, we try to keep on top of who's having a match when, but with all these different leagues and all the people involved, it can be a bit of a task. So if people want their matches casted, let us know, and we'll be happy to if we've got the time and you've got the recordings. So
When I post this up, I will link my email and all of the ways to get in touch with either of us, so that if you have a fun match that you want us to cast, let us know, especially when we have to take breaks like this. It's really hard to go back and be like, oh, what was that really good match between so-and-so, and you go back and the VODs aren't there because somebody didn't save it on Twitch or something like that. So, save your matches,
yeah, speaking of,
let us know.
make sure after your matches, save the video on Twitch. Twitch does not auto-save now.
Yeah, I think you can enable it. It's maybe a setting. But that's not the point. Okay, so tonight we have a fun match for you. 228, my team, versus BOS, or Balls of Steel, depending on how you refer to them. Personally, I think BOS should stand for just a ton of things, but that's fine. Balls of Steel is their actual name. So that match just took place last night. This is a Merrick Civil War match. This is the first round of the actual Merrick Civil War. And the restrictions for this match were no ECM, no. The restrictions were no PPC and no jump jets. So it's a very sort of anti-meta match that should be pretty fun for you guys to watch. So, Siri, are you ready?
Ready as always.
All right.
Let's get into it.
Let's get right into it. All right, so as we said, this is a match between the 228th and Balls of Steel, and this is the first drop of a Merrick match, so that means it's a 550 drop, and as I mentioned, the restrictions are no jump jets and no PPCs. Now, PPCs probably not going to take such a huge effect in this, but Siri, as a light pilot, how is no jump jets?
It is like gargling razor blades.
Exactly. And with that fine note, let's get into it. Siri, I'm going to be starting at... Oh,
wait. I have to go through the list.
Oh, that's right. Go ahead.
God, so bad at this. Alright, from Balls of Steel, we have 4 Jenner Fs, 4 Shadowhawk 5Ms, those are going to be 2 medium lasers and AC-20, 2 Blackjack 1s, again, probably 2 medium lasers, AC-20, a Treb 7K, and a Centurion 9A. And the reason you see those Trebs and the Centurion thrown in there are because Merrick has a restriction where you need 5 different chassis in use, and for this light drop, you can have at most 4 of a chassis. So, on the other side, coming from 228th, we have, again, 4 Jenner Fs, 3 Shadowhawk 5Ms, a Firestarter A, a Blackjack 1, sorry, that's 2 Firestarter As, a Blackjack 1, and 2 Thunderbolts. So they have a few more lights, and they opted to bring heavies. They don't have as many mediums. And I'm highly skeptical as a light pilot of how effective lights can be without jump jets. So on the whole of it, I'd be favoring Balls of Steel, drop deck wise. With all that being said and done, let's see how it turns out. You good to go?
Yep, I'll be starting at 4 seconds on the clock.
On the clock or into the match?
4 seconds remaining on the countdown.
Okay, I've got 1 second left.
Okay. I'll tell you when to go.
Okay.
Three, two, one, go. Oh, I'm like
Okie
a
doke.
quarter second off. Damn, so bad.
Okay, so we're playing on Canyon, and very first match, they get the most jump jet required map in the pool.
Oh yeah, Canyon obviously
So,
one of the maps that was clearly hit hardest by the hill climb nerf.
and with this map, with Conquest, it's going to be difficult to go for a cap game, I feel, because you'd have a lot of difficulty cutting diagonally across the map in between like Theta and Epsi and Kappa. Your choices, it's going to take you a lot longer than it normally would.
Yep, I agree. And right now we just see each team kind of regrouping. Balls of Steel is heading very, very hard to Kappa. Their entire team is moving that way. No mechs, as they bring up the map there, no mechs are even going to try and cap Theta, whereas the 228th has sent a couple of mechs to Theta to try and get that cap, to try to go for the cap game.
And by the looks of it, 228th is grouping up in order to drop in and push on Balls of Steel.
Yep, and keep
228th
in
has
mind,
the high ground, so they're able to pick when the engagement goes.
Air Arty is available in this match, so when that clock is off cooldown right now, you see red smoke everywhere. So right now, each team, 228th has a couple UAVs up. They know right where BOS is. BOS, on the other hand, is pulling back off of Kappa, trying to avoid taking too many needless arties. 228th looks like they're trying to flank around behind them through D4. BOS is counter-pushing around the side up towards the C4 area, it looks like, or at least they're getting ready for it. Some good shots being traded. Blackjack and some Trebs up on the top, trading shots with the 228. A good brawl about ready to go down. Yep, and there goes that movement from Balls of Steel. Balls of Steel is pulling up behind the 228th in that C4 area. Streamer Versenix overheats shooting. Balls of Steel is... And 228th is counter-pushing. They're trying to get around behind them. But it looks like they've left a few mechs up top, and Balls of Steel is... It looks like they've separated a few of these 228 pilots. Yeah, so right now we see Balls of Steel is in a very, very tight situation. All of their mechs are close together if you look on these minimaps. Or if you look at the 228th minimap, there are mechs separated. You've got a nice line of red separating each section of these mechs, which means that Balls of Steel has them sort of cornered in a way. First couple kills go down. Oh, that's right, it's Conquest, so you can't see the kills. Oh, current score, perfect. 3 to 4 kills currently in favor of BOS, and BOS takes another kill, so that puts them up 5 to 3.
Yeah, I'm just going to cut in here, and 228th is in a really bad position. I feel what happened was that they sort of took the high ground on the right, but they didn't follow through with their push, and that allowed BOS to counter push around their left like they have, and like you said, just drive a wedge through them.
Yeah, during that push, it didn't seem like all of the mechs were there. Some of them sort of stayed behind, and some of them pushed around the side. And what it did was it split them up to the point where they got that wedge driven between them. And with these jump jets, I mean, you can see it on these light pilots. They're struggling to maneuver on this terrain. And at this point, legged Firestarter goes down. I think the score at this point, yep, those are two kills in favor of BOS, putting them solidly ahead of the 228th. At this point, I can only see 2 mechs on the 228 minimap, whereas there are still a swarm of blue for Balls of Steel. And I think Balls of Steel is going to take this one.
Are you sure about that?
I'm trying to pretend like I didn't play in this match, so that's what I'm doing for my casting purposes.
Well, I haven't seen this, so for the record.
Fair enough. Well, the second to last mech goes down for the 228th, and Balls of Steel clearly has this one in the bag, just chasing down the final Jenner, as our streamer watches the smoking corpse of Atkinson. Ah, there we go. Just as Greem overheats and goes down. First match goes to Balls of Steel.
You know, Ruffle, at first it was pretty clear that this was Merrick, because Versi and the Thunderbolt survived overheating. But then with Atkins or Greem there dying at the end, I wasn't sure, because he did run hot and die. So I'm
Oh, and the
terrible, I'm sorry.
perfect and the perfect jokes. Oh. So, if we take a look at those end scores, there were 5 mechs left alive from Balls of Steel, Blackjack, Shadowhawk, and 3 Jenners. So yeah, that was game number 1. So the way Merrick works is there are 3 games played, 550, 675, and 800. And after those 3 games are played, the team that, if the winner hasn't been declared, the team that is down matches picks the next drop weight. So they can pick any of those 3 drops. And then should it go to the 5th game, again, the team who is down picks the next drop. So right now, after game 1, which was the 550 drop, we have BOS in the lead. And Siri, what did you think about that game?
Well, I thought 228th had the better position coming from the high ground as they were. I think their move to push the right was correct. However, I have to ask you, Raffle, do you have commitment issues?
No, actually, my girlfriend's quite happy. But in that match, afterwards, we talked about the fact that we were too focused on moving forward. Was basically what we had talked about. We saw an opportunity to engage, and we were too ballsy about it. We should have just sat back and gone for it because we were up on caps. We could have kept going. Would have been fine.
That's one option, definitely. But I was just thinking from what I saw, you guys kind of took the ridge, but you never committed down off the ridge. You got the good hits into our streamer to Chad. You messed him up a little, but I think if you guys had the better cohesion, and if you had dropped off the right and then just swept through the rest of the BOS team, they wouldn't have been able to put together the counterattack that they did.
So I'm just replaying this a little bit now for our viewers. So at this point right here is we had decided that trying to hold the only way up due to these jump jets was this ramp on the right side, and we thought, okay, we can hold them here, we can pinch them, we'll have some mechs on the left side, some mechs on the right side, be able to drop air already on them. It'll kind of be a cakewalk. But then what happened was we made somebody, and I don't remember who, made the call to like push farther down around, and it wasn't our DC, if I remember correctly. So some mechs pushed around and some mechs stayed, trying to hold them while they pushed, and it left us in a really bad situation.
Okay, that's what I was seeing then, is that it wasn't a full push, it wasn't a full commitment.
Correct.
Like I was looking for.
The original plan was to just hold the ridge, but that obviously didn't work. But enough of you loving my failure, Siri. Do you want to move on to the next match?
Well, I'll just end it off with one last word, in that,
Fair
especially
enough.
in these light drops, initiative and getting the first kill snowballs quickly. And we've discussed this many times, how with no healing or anything, snowball is the nature of MWO. But more than anything, you can't afford to have half your team engaging when the other half isn't. And although it was subtle in this drop, those were the big deciding factors. And with those last words, I'm ready to go.
Alrighty, well, let me just get these next screens set, and we are green. Alrighty, so this will be game number 2. Alright, so game number 2, this is the 675 match, and Siri, what do you think about these drop decks?
Well, one question first, or one commentary first, is that...
Wouldn't be you if it wasn't?
Touche. Going into this, you are kind of on the back foot, right, Raffle? You're down 1-0. Like, is that demoralizing, or are you able to just ignore it and rally?
So, and this is nothing against Balls of Steel, obviously, but 228th, we are ranked as a Tier 1 unit. So we do hold ourselves to sort of a higher standard, or at least we try to. And so losing any match against anyone is a little bit of a setback. But the energy was actually fairly positive in the room. We had a bunch of guys who were just kind of like, I messed up, no big deal. Let's hit the next one. Let's get it done. And this composition. I mean, you can obviously see it on the screen. This is something the 228 feels very confident with, this composition. So we were actually in a pretty good mood.
I think I recognize this drop deck.
It's hard not to recognize. We've kind of made it famous.
Okay, but speaking of, 228 has brought 3 Genrefs, a Firestarter S, 3 Jagermechs, 3 Catapult K2s, and 2 Ilya Murmets Cataphracts. And if I'm not very mistaken, this is the famous all Gauss deck out of your heavies?
This is indeed the Gauss deck.
Okay. And on the other side, out of Balls of Steel, we have 3 Genrefs, an Ember Firestarter, 2 K2s, 2 Stalker Miseries, 2 Jagermechs, and 1 Cataphract Ilya Murmets. And slight correction, there were 2 Ember Firestarters. Will be into me for people to organize their lances in an OCD manner, like I do.
Oh man, that's all I do every time. I mean, you can see I've got Channel Commander. I'm like, make sure that they have to be right, otherwise everything's wrong, and I'm gonna just twitch the whole match.
Please, everyone, think of the casters.
Think of us when you get into it. I mean, first of all, even in the bedroom, you should probably be thinking about Siri and I. Let's be fair. It's top priority, but
God
especially in matches. All right, what are we doing, man? Let's get this going. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, I'll be kicking it off.
Are you at 1?
I am indeed at 1.
Oh, good. You did it correctly this time.
I did.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, on 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, and we are on Caustic Valley. Caustic Valley has... Theta is normally very hotly contested at the beginning, as both teams can reach the edge of the caldera and kind of peek in and provide that supporting fire. And unless the enemy team does something weird, your lights may get lit up before they can get out of the caldera, and you have to be really careful about that. Other than that, it's a hot map. It's actually a decently big map, and winning by cap is sort of an option, but not really, because Theta is a very, very dominant position on this map, and you can easily attack in any direction to get your enemy.
So right off the bat, you see that the 228 is going for Theta. Now, what does that necessarily, in your head as an enemy team, mean about their game plan?
That they're going to dominate the middle, send their lights out to hit whichever side we're not on, and just pick away at us, and if we push on them, they'll probably see it coming. But the good thing is that if they're in the caldera, their heat is going to be atrocious. Bad thing for BOS, Gauss has 1 heat per shot, so that's practically nothing.
Alright, so right now you see the 228 is actually giving up the position on the edge of the caldera. They're moving down towards E4. All of their mechs streaming past. The lights, it looks like, are going for the cap on Kappa, whereas BOS they're being very cautious. They're watching down D3 line, they're poking in on Theta, they want to make sure that they're not walking into a bad situation. Again, air arty is allowed in the 675, so that means especially your heavier mechs or your assault mechs, if you brought them, are going to be very slow and very vulnerable to those air arty strikes.
And without jump jets, you have no way to mitigate it.
Exactly.
And another factor, without jump jets, you can't easily scout around this caldera without exposing yourself entirely.
That is completely true. The 228 are moving towards the hill in F3 by the looks of it. It is a fairly decent sniping spot. They're only going to be able to cover 2 points from there, though.
Although it looks like they're abandoning the center and adopting more of a cycle around the map in a group and outcap the enemy.
And BOS is doing something interesting. They're pushing right up in between Gamma and Theta, but they haven't started capping either yet.
Yeah, I don't entirely know what to make of this at the moment.
So BOS, I think they may
BOS,
have... BOS is on
has
Gamma.
just scouted where 228 is approximately, so they feel safe taking this point. And I think from the fact that they've taken dual Gauss to the face a couple times, they've figured out what 228 has.
Yeah, at this point, they're definitely trying to keep as much distance in between themselves and their opponent as possible. Dual Gauze is very dangerous, both far away and up close, but more so far away. It has the longest engagement distance of any weapon in MechWarrior currently, with the exception of LRMs.
Yeah, it's
direct
nominal.
fire weapon. Any direct fire weapon.
Its optimal range is only 660, but being a ballistic, it goes out to triple that. So its damage fall-off is actually pretty
And
slow.
now we see why 228th is safe on that only 2-spot hill. They have vision on Theta with Arty. That's what's up. So they are putting down air Arty on top of Theta while the opponent is trying to cap in the hopes of mitigating their ability to hold that point. And a couple good hits, actually. Our streamer Chad takes a little bit of damage, and it looks like a couple other mechs have taken some hits as well. So we see the lights from the 228th pushing up on the E3, D3 side, dropping a UAV, allowing the 228th to see just a little bit more clearly where their opponent is at. But right now, BOS is 3-capping the 228th.
Yeah, 228 has a bit of time to respond to this, as they are about 80 points ahead. It's currently 327 to 246 in favor of 228, with BOS now having the 3-cap and coming from behind.
And does look like BOS, I think I just saw a Gauss Jaeger off the side, so I believe they also have brought some Gauss rifles of their own, so they are maybe looking for that same distance engagement. Oh, thought the stream just went down. Was scared.
Well, they've got some of their heavies with Gauss, but their miseries are definitely set up for short range. They've got 2 large pulse and an AC-20. So they have to figure out how to leverage this brawl advantage if they're going to win a fight. And on Caustic, that can be difficult. There's a lot of open ground to cover.
And now we see sort of a little bit, a few mechs from the 228th just push forwards towards E4, but then they fell back. Looks like they didn't want to be caught out. But Balls of Steel, they are actually nowhere near the 228th at this point. They are on the complete back of the Caldera. Looks like there's a skirmish going on between the lights and D5 by Gamma. But they're just kind of waiting. They're happy. They've got 3 caps.
Yeah, BOS, if they wanted, if they knew where 228 was, they could commit some of their heavies over to help out on this light fight, get a kill or 2, and start that early advantage. But right now, their heavies and assaults are fairly immobile, and they're controlling the 3-point caps, but they're not increasing their advantage.
Exactly, and the 228 now is pushing down the 2 line, sticking to that far ridge, sticking in these trees, which can make it hard to shoot at from a distance. They are surprisingly irritating to shoot through, as I'm sure any pilot knows. So they are pushing now strictly right along that D2, D3, those line that cuts the 2 and 3 line in half, and trying to get this really nice flank position, actually, up on BOS, who is sitting on the side of the Caldera. Oh, yeah.
So the risk here is that with how 228 is pushing, they could be split if BOS got the right angle.
And you see that right now. BOS's lights are actually pushing around the C3 hill, trying to cut off the mediums and heavies from the lights for the 228th. But the problem is, for BOS right now, is they have very little cover. They're in a bad position in terms of cover, and they're taking a lot of these Gauss rifle shots.
Not just that, but
Misery
half the mechs
completely
are out
out
of
in the
range.
open.
The misery is
misery
at
goes
400
down.
meters.
Yep. Yeah, the optimum range for these miseries and their other brawlier mechs is much farther, or much closer, sorry, than it is for these Gauss Jaegers and Gauzapults. Those mechs are really going to be able to do some damage. Big air arties go down from either side. A little bit of a light skirmish closer towards Epsi, but BOS manages to hold on to Epsilon, which confirms their 3-cap lead. And for some reason, 228 has lights in the Caldera, but they're not actually bringing them in to cap Theta. They're just kind of poking at the back of the BOS's mechs by the looks of it. And BOS is sort of trying to push down towards Epsilon, trying to catch a few of these heavy mechs out. They're pulling around behind that hill, using that cover as best they can to try and get their brawlier mechs in at closer range with these squishier, more long-range mechs. Oh, and a good kill from Chad takes out a Gauss Jaeger as this push happens, pushing around the south side.
Yeah, these miseries, if they can get into range and on top of these firebrands and other Gauss, they're brutal.
Like, Chad takes another kill.
Back to back.
2 kills for Chad, and I wish I could see the score right now. But something really important to notice, it's it's 625, sorry, to 580, and BOS is up on caps. And now we see Versinix, who is damaged, clearly, going for caps. 228 realizes that they need to kick up points if they're going to be able to finish this match. Oh yeah, and up on kills, extremely up on kills. I believe there are only 2 mechs left, or 3 mechs left, sorry, for BOS. But they are winning on caps. They've got 3 caps, 670 to 610. I don't know if the 228th can take this.
Do you really?
I do know, but I'm trying to be suspenseful. We got a Jenner pushing through Theta, trying to deny that cap for as long as possible.
I don't.
Oh, and he goes down. A great pilot, Raffle Waffle, takes a terrific snapshot and kills that Jenner on Theta. 707, 637. This last mech is running away.
How this was going to end, but what BOS had too few of their lights left, and they were too close to the enemy to really get away.
And this Ember is now making a run for it with 730 points to 657, 2 capping still. Oh, and his leg goes down, and Titan takes the final kill, cementing the match for the 228th.
BOS
had to ruin my suspenseful match, Siri. Come on, man.
I wasn't. Okay, maybe I was ruining it, but my point there is that by the time BOS realized that they were massively losing the heavy fight, their lights were still in the middle of all the other lights, and so when they tried to run, 228 was just right on them. So what they needed to do was realize their situation earlier and get 2 of their lights breaking off the fight and making it away without 228 realizing the threat and pursuing them.
Yep.
If they had managed to slip even that one guy away, he would have been fine. And all he would have needed was about 350 meters distance, 400 meters to the closest 228th guy.
4 more seconds.
To about 150 or 200 meters that he had.
Literally, that Ember needed 4 more seconds to win the game. That was, believe it or not, the second closest game that the 228th has ever had in terms of caps.
What I will add on to that earlier is that BOS, their initial push, they took a lot of damage on. They sort of rallied about halfway when the Chad managed to get on top of the 2 Jagermechs, but at that point, everybody else on the 228 side had managed to push the other way and get away from him. And I don't know if BOS had to push the issue there. Where they attacked, there was 500, 600 meters that they had to cross without cover. And given that Gauss deck, it wasn't going to be pretty.
Yep.
And I almost think that they didn't need to push down there. They had 3 caps. They could have let 228 have Epsi. They could have sent their lights
as soon as they
Gamma,
saw that push,
I think it is in the southwest.
That position is very detrimental for whoever holds it, in my honest opinion. So they could have gone and capped 2 more points. They could have capped Epsi and Gamma from where they were. They rearranged the points, and I never remember how they were. They could have capped Lake Point and Spire Point.
Southwest and southeast?
Yes. And 228th couldn't have done anything about it because they were pushing along. They were so far out of the main path that if BOS had just held the Caldera backside by south side, I believe, and just capped, it would have been over. Because I mean, they were already 8 points away from winning, or 6 points, sorry, and I think it could have been a much different game had they just decided to play the cap game.
Yeah, and one thing to note is that how fast that cap win can sneak up on you
in
the middle of a battle.
It's so brutal, especially in a brawl. You're just you're shooting mechs, and if you're playing a high-level game and you're maneuvering for a good position to do that engagement, you're already at 400 some points by the time you get in that engagement. And 400 to 600 is a lot quicker than you remember it being when you're in a brawl.
Right, like when that engagement happened, I think when it started, it was about 500 points, or even less, and it was enough time to almost go to time. Yeah. And so really, if you're winning the cap war at 600, you can probably just starburst and go to every corner, and they won't be able to pick you off or recap in time, unless they have massive map control, which they didn't. By holding that center, Balls of Steel had the map control.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it was
Okay.
no, yeah, it was a very close game. Closer, stepping out of me being a caster, closer than we wanted it to be from a personal perspective. We were very worried.
Well, from a personal perspective, what would you have improved in that drop?
The thing we talked about afterwards was there was a point where we had them completely separated when they were pushing on us to get around that hill. We had a couple mechs up in the caldera. We should have just sent them to cap in the center. We knew we were winning the brawl. As soon as we were in that position, like we caught two miseries out of place, and as soon as we were in that position, we should have dedicated enough mechs to making sure that it wasn't that close on caps. Because it was closer than it needed to be.
That's pretty much my assessment from seeing it. So,
Oh
that
my god.
out of the way, should we move on to drop 3?
I think we should. So, drop number 3 is, of course, 675. No,
800.
God, Raffle, 800. 800 tons, which is the heaviest drop, obviously, in Merrick drops. So, without further ado, Siri, 800 tons?
And off we go.
Alrighty, let's do it. Okay, so this is match number 3 at 800 tons, and Siri, analysis man. What do you think of A, these drop decks, and B, this weight class in Merrick?
I'm going to start with C, the current status. It is, of course, 1-1, Balls of Steel to 228th, but 228th has just come off a big win in that they pulled out that win at the last minute when it could have gone the other way. So their emotions are going to be riding high, and BOS also probably riding high, but a little more turbulent. So both teams now is sort of the deciding game in how mentally the rest of the series is going to go.
Yeah, and you got to look at it. A close win and a close loss are very similar in terms of emotions. So you take a close win, you're jacked. You just won that. You snatched it out of the jaws of defeat, and you took it. If you're in BOS's shoes, they took game 1. They're coming into game 3 after a narrow loss, thinking, all right, we messed up a call. We got this. Let's take it to them. Do this again. Do it right. So you're right. I think that the attitudes are probably very similar.
And, moving to what you were discussing, on BOS's side, we have 3 Generefs, 2 Firestarter Embers, 3 Banshee, 3 E's. I can't remember what exactly those are. I believe they're the Brawl variety, or are they...
Those are the... This is the stupid thing, because E isn't the energy one, it's the ballistic one. I remember being mad about that. Yes, the 3
Okay, so it's the heavy ballistic one with
the 4
4
ballistic one, yes, I believe.
Okay. So it'll be interesting to see how those are set up, whether it's trip AC5, dual UAC2, or dual UAC5, and 2 AC2s, or some variety thereof. Continuing on, they have 2 Miseries, a Cataphract 4X, and an Atlas DDC. So, overall, they're pretty heavy on the DACA. And those are pretty good mechs for not having jump jets. On 228's side, we have 3 Generefs, a Firestarter S, 3 Atlas DDCs, 2 Cataphract Mermets. Did I mention the Yagamax already? There are 2 Yagamax. A Battlemaster. I think that's it.
That's right.
Again, the limits in terms of what you can bring are you have to have 5 chassis, and you can only have at most 3 of a chassis.
Yep, and the restrictions again are no ERPPCs. You can only use regular PPCs. No PPCs of any kind, and no jump jets.
And the map we are on is River City, so this is probably going to go into a big fight. It's hard to make this one into a cap.
Yep, and especially on this 800-ton thing, this 800-ton match, where you don't have jump jets, you're really not going to try and run away, because you don't have anything that can run away. All of your mechs are heavy and slow, and they're really unmaneuverable. So everybody's going to be going for that engagement. It's just a matter of how you can make that engagement happen.
And I'm just going to thank God this is Conquest and not Skirmish.
Oh.
But with that, let's get into it.
Alrighty, I'm going to do the countdown this time. Damn it, Siri.
Fine.
Alright. Starting in 3, 2, 1,
go.
Go. Oh god,
if
I'm
I had to.
still like a quarter second off. I can never get this right. Oh well.
Poor Waffle. In any
Pork
case,
pork.
Balls of Steel are starting on the low side, and 228 is starting on the high side. I have to give the slight advantage
Thanks.
to the high side here.
Yep. Okay.
It's easier for them to pick up sort of a 3-point hold if they go to the left. But they're
So
not.
as you
228
see,
is going to the right and going for the upper city area.
so
So,
Theta
what do I know?
Theta is immediately taken by the 228th. BOS actually sends all of its light mechs down the E line towards Epsi, whereas the 228 sends all of its lights to Theta, and it looks like its brawlers, its heavies, and assaults are moving towards the B3, B2 area. And actually, a couple of BOS's mechs are already taking fire. They're pushing up, trying to get towards the collapsed bridge area. Stalker Misery is holding this point. And 228 has a bunch of mechs moving through, and I'm not sure what everybody calls this, because there's some debate, but the Briar Patch, or Gardens, or whatever the hell you want to talk
Park?
Park. Sure. See, everybody calls it something different. Towards C2. So right now, BOS... Air Arty is just up, so BS is taking cover, making sure they're in a good position, trying to hold out as their lights come back. So their lights are working on coming back. And Chad walks around the corner and sees 3 Atlases right in his face, moves to cover, trying to avoid these Air Arty, and they just keep barreling right towards him. So the 228th is pushing down now. 3 Atlases in the opponent. UAVs go up, giving them good spotting information on where BOS's mechs are. This Stalker tries to push out into these enemy Atlases, gets the back of one of them for a second, but they're all about to turn on him and take him. These Atlases are trying to be at the kind of a spearhead for the 228th, pushing into the enemy. Big Air Arty's going down, trying to block this movement. Atlases barrel through Chad into the enemy. We see the 228th mechs are kind of spread out. They've pinned the BOS up against the back of the map, actually, with some of their mechs still in upper, and then this big brawling lance down in the bottom, kind of funneling the enemy towards their other mechs. So a big brawl going on right now in the corner of C1. A light fight is actually breaking out up top on C2 near Kappa. So these lights
You make that sound like a plague.
Kappa or a light fight? Light fights are plagues.
A light fight is breaking out.
Oh, yes, it is. So these Atlases are pushing back into the team. 228th is sort of scrambled right now. Their mechs are actually everywhere, but so are BOS's. This is a very, a classic brawl. Everybody is everywhere, and you're taking shots when you can on who you can. These Banshees are still... Oh, another Banshee goes down for BOS. Lots of mechs still up, though, for both sides. It looks like the 228th is taking an advantage, though. Battlemaster goes down for the 228th. That was actually a Lerm Battlemaster, I think, by the looks of it. Another Banshee goes down, though, and I think BOS is losing most of its assaults at this point. The lights are still trying to do some damage, but another one goes down. Good shot by this Ilya, taking advantage of that legged light. They've got an Atlas backed up into the corner, taking tons of fire, and at this point, I think... Even though I can't see the kills, I remember them off my head. I think 228's got this. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
2 to 4.
It's about nine remaining for 228th, and when you were talking, it was 5, and now it's only none.
And the last mech goes down.
Yeah, I've been since the start. I had just sort of analysis of how that would break out, but it seemed at the very beginning, Balls of Steel, they were very slow to get going with their assaults. They kind of milled around their base. They started taking fire, then they moved up the left, but they didn't seize any map control or a strong position with the assaults. At the same time, their lights went off to cap Epsi, and they lost all scouting on what the enemy force was doing. And it just so happened that 228th was being balls out aggressive and pushing straight in with that very heavy brawl lance. And so if you look at that, the Balls of Steel kind of ceded strategic initiative, they ceded tactical initiative, and they lost their eyes, and put all of that together, and it's not going to be pretty.
And something interesting to note is that BOS's Assault Lance and 228 Assault Lance actually had very similar damage numbers, which means that those lights getting there late was really a factor. Because if you look at BOS's lights compared to 228 lights, a couple of the 228 lights actually have upwards of 400 damage, whereas BOS seems their lights getting there late, I think it really affected their chances there.
Yeah, and another thing we saw was that 228 got off one or two good strikes at the beginning, and I don't think BOS got any off in return.
Yeah, so a fun fact, I was in one of those atlases, and I talked to Chad, who was in that misery at the very beginning, and I talked to him after the match, and he said, well, yeah, I was actually, I was hiding from an airstrike, and then I walked around the corner, and there were 3 atlases there. And I just kind of panicked. So, they were not expecting the 228th in that position. So, some good information on that one. And if you caught it at the end of that match, there was information in the chat. BOS, being the team that is now down, picked the 550 drop, the one that they won, for their final match. So, that is the next one we will have coming up for you. Siri, do you have anything you want to say about this one?
You meant the next match, right?
What did I say?
The final match.
Oh, yeah, well, I actually did mean the next match. My bad. Sorry. Game point, I guess is what I meant to say. I mean...
Do or die?
Yeah, what can I... Damn it, this is hard, and you keep making me do, like, analysis, be like, oh, caster, oh, and Ruffle, how did you feel after this? I was wondering, you know... did your
Let's
relationship
be honest here, Ruffle. Nobody cares what you feel.
Did your relationship with your mother at all affect how you felt after Game 3? I mean, do you feel that you're just trying to make up for some inadequacy? God damn it, I'm just trying to cast this shit. Okay.
Are we cutting this in post?
Huh? No, this is staying in. Fuck you.
Oh dear God.
Okay,
and
so...
with that atrocity, let's move on to drop 4.
Game number 4 at 550. The 228th is up currently 2 matches to 1. Alright, so we have match number 4 between the 228th Independent Battle Mech Regiment, if I'm saying the whole goddamn thing, and the Balls of Steel. Currently, 228 is up 2 to 1, so BOS got to pick this weight class, and this is the 550 drop. So, we have Terra Therma, and so Siri, we've already seen these drop decks in action. What do you think, how is it going to play out on this much larger map?
Well, BOS definitely has the mobility advantage. They brought all mediums, no heavies, whereas 228th has opted to bring the 2 heavies, the 65-tonners. They've switched it up. The first time around, they brought Thunderbolts with a heavy energy loadout. They must have felt that didn't go well because they brought 2 Jaeger mechs, and not sure if those are going to be AC-40 or dual Gauss. Ruffle?
Nah, man. Gets to be a surprise this time.
Oh, goddammit. Okay, well, in any case, 228th, just for posterity's sake and to refresh your memory, has 4 Generefs, 2 Firestarters, 3 Shadowhawks, 1 Blackjack, and 2 Jaeger mechs. And Balls of Steel has 4 Jenners, 4 Shadowhawks, 2 Blackjacks, and 2 Trebuchets.
Alright.
And on this map, capping is definitely a possibility, so let's see if BOS leverages that mobility.
Sounds like a plan to me. Let's do it.
In 3, 2...
No, hold
1.
on. Now go. 1, 0, go.
Oh god, I hate you.
I have to keep 1 at 6 and 1 at 1 because I have to switch tabs because I only have so much screen realty. What can I say? Anyway, we're in the game though. So this is a very, very light drop and on a very, very big map. So capping is definitely an option. And right off the bat we see 228 is actually going hard middle. It looks like they're sending their 2 closest lances right up through the center towards Theta. So we might have a Thunderdome battle? Yeah, and BOS is doing the exact same thing. Oh, I hate when the stream does that. BOS is actually doing the exact same thing. They are piling all of their mechs up on the other side of the call. They are pushing in the E5 door. And one thing to keep in mind is that These lances are fairly evenly spaced, so everybody's going to get in at about the same time. But we do see the 228 light mechs. All 4 of them are stationed on this center platform, taking Theta. Air Arty is not quite up yet, so they're going to try and get that cap before they can. Everybody's pushing in, though. BOS, it appears, is pushing in and pushing to the... I'm just going to say right side, or their left side, 228's right side. Clockwise, thank you, Siri. And it looks like 228 is responding in kind, sending some of its mechs also clockwise while leaving a couple to hold the brunt of the push. And it's going to be a good old-fashioned brawl. It looks like this is what both teams kind of want. Oh, and a big blackjack kill. Ragnar Ironarm takes down the first kill of the match on a blackjack pushing up through the center. We have a couple of mechs, a Shadowhawk and a Jenner, pushing in behind BOS currently, getting some good rear shots, trying to drop some air arty, while we have a big brawl going on right now for BOS while they're engaging near 228's entrance.
I'm just going to cut you off there to point one thing out. This turned into sort of a ring around the rosy, both teams going clockwise, but 228 is taking the advantage because it looks like BOS stalled out a little, and their focus fire at the front end wasn't as good, so they were getting mechs picked off the back, and they weren't getting damage done in return. On top of that, 228 had guys on the bridge coming in from E7, and so if BOS had just pushed past, they would have eaten some shots to the back. And overall, cohesion, kills, definitely going 228's way. I think BOS is down to only about 2 mechs left, and 228 really hasn't lost that much.
Yeah, I believe they have 4 or 5 light mechs remaining. 228 is doing a really good job right now of staying together, but also moving apart, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Not biased.
I'm not being biased at all. The push around the back really gave them an edge over BOS as it prevented them from moving, and that was last kill right there. A quick match, 12:18 on the match clock. And I wasn't being biased. It was a good move to push around behind BOS. You'd have done the same thing.
No, I said not biased.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't being biased. I was merely pointing out a good move. Damn it, Siri. Next time we cast an SJR match, I'm going to be like, oh man, I'm really not sure about all of the movements of these lights. I feel like they're just probably being led by an idiot. Oh gosh.
Well, I have my response ready, so
don't worry.
Go for it. In any case, getting back to sort of the analysis of this match.
The BOS loadout is not right.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, BOS only brought 4 different variants, or 4 different chassis. You're supposed to bring 5. So technically, I think they would have had to either redrop if they had 1, or it would have been a loss, but not a difference in the end, because 228 did come out on top. We actually, SJR,
I think the way
forfeited.
That works is... Oh yeah, what were you going to say?
SJR had to forfeit a drop tonight because we were 25 tons over, because our spreadsheet had 700 as the end goal instead of 675.
Goo.
So that was embarrassing, but
you guys can rallied. A little embarrassment.
So could you.
I know. But I'm embarrassing already, so it's okay.
In any case, the point I was trying to make was that BOS had the initiative. They got all their mechs in the middle, moving the same way, before 228 could get everybody in, and BOS made it in safely before strikes came down and wrecked them as they pushed through like in a ball. So, on the whole of it, I would have thought that would go to them, but I think what happened was the leading edge kind of kept running around the ring without having anything really to hit, and they should have cut across the middle or pushed into the guys at the bridge instead of basically chasing smoke.
And another thing that you saw is 550 tends to be an AC-20 heavy comp, and those Jaeger mechs were in fact Gauss rifles. So that added a huge engagement distance for 228. They were able to let them push on them and welcome it because they were able to do damage the entire time.
And the other bit about the chasing smoke was that 228 had the 6 lights, and those are what BOS tried to rush and get down because they saw that there were enemies inside. But The 6 lights, you're at least 60 kph faster. Normally you would have jump jets, but you don't here. They were able to split and fade away and not get pinned up against the wall and crushed. And so that was well done to their lights. And then they managed to come back and just keep laying out damage.
Yeah. All in all, a good few matches, especially those first two were very good matches. The second one, at least, was a nail biter for me to play in, and then again to watch tonight. So, the series does go to 228. I believe. Oh, I should have had which planet this was over, so we could have talked about that.
Don't worry about it. I don't think about that anyways.
So you just care about the planets. All I mean are restrictions. Alright, so that was the only game we've got for you guys tonight. We will have more tomorrow and probably the rest of this week, because I'm on spring break. Hell yeah. And so yeah, thank you for coming out tonight. Some fun matches, and hopefully more to come. A reminder to save your match files in Twitch, because they're not auto-saved, and to poke me or Siri if you see us literally anywhere. If you know us in real life and you want a match cast, literally just poke us and be like, hey, cast my match, cast my match, cast my match. But if that doesn't work, because probably none of you know us in real life, poke us on Twitch, or poke us when we're streaming, when we're playing, when we're in TS, etc. We want to cast more matches, and we do get tired of casting our own matches because it's hard to pretend like we don't know what happens. So
I'd just like to say something. Please don't poke us when we're streaming. I have that turned off, but it's still cluttering up the window.
Oh, that's
also,
true. Yep,
good method of getting a hold of us, Reddit. It's not like I'm a mod there or anything, but I will get back to you probably within 12 hours at most.
Yep. So send us those matches. Let us know when you've got a fun match to play that you think would make for good material, and we'll cast them for you, because we actually like doing this, believe it or not. It's fun. So yeah, until next time, Siri.
Have a good one, everyone.
Have a good one, guys.